Hello. Good evening, Chuempala. Good evening, Kankoyo, Mufulira. Good evening, Mokambo and Ndola. Good evening, Kapiri. Good evening, Zambezi. Good evening, Nakonde and Chipata and Chadiza. And of course, this one comes up very, very often, Mapatizia. Elias Munsha here on TV Bakwetu. Thank you very much for joining us. I have with me here my co-host, Mr. Jerome Kanika, who is also a resident pharmacist. He has a lot of exciting things as usual to talk about to us. But we've also got a very special guest, Honorable Heartson Mabeta, Member of Parliament for Cancoyo. He is one of the recently elected members of Parliament, and so we are very happy that Cancoyo is in the building, or as they call it, Cancoyo is in the view, Cancoyo 1. What an excitement for us to have Honorable. And so, Brother Jerome, please say hello to our friends, and then we are going to get back to Honorable Mabeta.
Thank you, Council Munsha. Honorable, how are you? And it's good to see that today Cancoyo is well represented. Good evening, the viewers, and good evening, the people in diaspora, the people in Lusaka, the people in Rwansha, and the people in Matelo, especially those who are coming from the civic center of Lusaka.
Yeah, I think good evening, Jerome. Good evening, Munsha. I think it's an honor for me right now to have this opportunity to be able to engage with you. The notice came a bit at short notice, but I just had to suspend everything I was doing to take advantage of this opportunity you're giving us to engage with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, here on TV Bakwetu, we do have several presenters, several friends that are going to join us as we carry the conversation along. And so be expectant, because we are going to bring them on in order for us to have a very fulfilling discussion. It's not fair for just the two of us or the three of us to engage you, but we have got a whole category of our friends and presenters that ask questions as well. Because TV Bakwetu is really a grassroots movement. It's for everyone. And so we just want to express our congratulations to you, Honorable Mabeta, because what you accomplished was pretty remarkable. So congratulations on your win.
No, many thanks. I think congratulations needs to be given firstly to the people of Cancoyo, who for once, I think, gave us a very rare privilege to be able to work with them. You know, it wasn't been an easy road, no more, especially that we were the speech which started in the PF government for a long time. I think from history we could see that the speech started in the time when the former President Michael Sata, may so rest in peace, started bringing politics of hate towards Manawasa. So that hate speech started growing. We tolerated it. We thought it was part of the fun of the politics. It kept on growing. Membe and the Winter Kavimba expanded it. You know, so UPND went through a lot of hate speech, from public ridicule. The post wasn't kind to the UPND. So when the late Michael Sata passed on, Kavimba was kicked out of PF. The post was closed down, but Kambwili and his friend picked it up and continued promoting hate speech. In 2016, if I remember very well, Cancoyo was a UPNB constituency. The results indicators were showing that we had won that election. Unfortunately, when Kambwili came within that constituency 2 days before the election, he left a lot of damages to a point where even the result, if you can see the result, you find that I, as an MP, got far more votes than the president, because Kambwili said so much bad things and damaged the reputation of HH as the president. So the people of Cancoyo did something miraculous, which we didn't believe, because the hate speech continued also in 2021. were victims of hate speech. Unfortunately, the candidate who accused the president, our president, Hakainde Hichilema, to be a Satanist, remember, at the rally in Kabwe, Bishop Eddie Chomba was also one of the people who promoted hate speech. So he came with hate and he wanted to dilute or poison the people of Cancoyo. But the time came when God just said, no, enough is enough. They couldn't get his message. So grateful to them. Second, we also want to appreciate, I think, the diaspora through Aunt Rebecca. We call her Aunt Rebecca, don't know the surname, but Rebecca from America. She supported us heavily on finance terms. You know, we had a very expensive campaign. I was going in an election, challenging first the full cabinet minister, Brian Mushimba. We gave him a good run to a point where the party felt he wasn't good enough to challenge us. So they had to bring another candidate who they thought was equal to the task of the one amount of work put on the ground. So we had to challenge the full cabinet minister. Sorry, I think my phone gets getting disturbed. So from challenging a full cabinet minister to a point where the party felt it wasn't good enough, they brought in a permanent secretary again, a very vicious permanent secretary. So it was a heavy election. So those who came on board supported us financially. They are part of who we are today. Without the resources they gave us, we wouldn't have managed that election.
I think it was an amazing win, and you shouldn't let no one take away that from that win. I think it was an amazing win. I think you had a very formidable opponent, and he had a lot of money. We saw him dishing money all over. Brown envelopes, market, so I think you achieved a lot, and keep it up. Of course, we were receiving indications of about Kumufulira, the tide was turning, but we didn't know how deep the tide was, and so keep it up. Now, your involvement in politics stretches a very long time ago. So how did you get started in politics?
Yeah, basically, I think that the time I was, because after I left the bank, I started settling down to start up a business, so I could move from one town to town. So at the time the president came to Ndola, he was appearing on Sun FM. Then we got an indication he was going to be attacked. So I got interested to say, what's happening? Why is that this man is one? I mean, the president Hakainde Hichilema was going to be attacked by PF thugs. There was that group of thugs, which was very vicious in 2013 back then. So when I got wind of that, I think I joined the team. The time I was escaping on the roof from San Otemba, just to ensure that his safety was secured.
I think there is something. Yeah, your phone keeps cutting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm getting some messages from other WhatsApp group. I don't know how I can cut them off.
Oh, okay. So you're using a phone and they keep sending you messages. Yeah. So that is likely to be an issue. Jerome, do you have any solution to that kind of thing?
Yeah, if he plays where it says do not disturb, then he puts a period or that, I think the messages, they will not be affecting
the transmission.
Yes, transmission. Yes.
Okay. So we're going. Yeah. Okay. So Honorable.
Yes.
So you got involved with the Hakainde Hichilema campaign at that time. Is that what you're saying? That when you went to Mufulira and you was almost manhandled and beaten up?
Ndola.
Sun FM.
Oh, Ndola. Okay, right.
Was in Ndola. Yeah. So Sun FM was in Ndola. So when we managed to have him secured and escaped, left the copper belt, I started looking at what was on the table. What has UPN put in to avoid such situations? So I realized to say the first thing you had to do, pardon me, the first thing you had to do is to build the security which was able to counter the attack of the thugs of the PF. So I started now reorganizing and rebuilding the the UPND on the copper belt by recruiting the guys I thought maybe could be good enough to start repairing or, defending the president whenever I was on the copper belt. I think the president liked the strategy. Then he also extended my territory to say do the same for Northwestern. So because of my active involvement, we thought of, no, I think it's not just about the part of course, we have this problem where we have this group which we need to fund but don't have resources to fund it. So we brought in people like Suveta Mutelo, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Kamfinsa, to start helping us just to raise resources so that we can start funding that group, which was going to help raising funds for the security team. So when we started identifying potential sponsors, and the sponsors came up to say, no, I think let's form a copper belt think tank. You'll be shocked to say the first person we recruited was Ruvinda Habazoka, who was at CBU that time. So he came on board, he brought in friends. We started working together. We went to 18 of us, then we became 20 of us. So we both in the think tank with the main mandate to grow the number of UPN votes on the copper belt. So I was both on the security part and the think tank who looked at strategies on how to grow the numbers. So when we had that by-election after the late President Michael had passed on, we started looking at how we were going to grow the numbers on the copper belt from 18,000 to 36,000, because that's the target the President gave us. So we worked hard to put strategies, tried to put a lot of things in place. And when the by-election came, we had 68,000 votes. So I was very happy with the work we put in, because yes, he was expecting us to get 36, but we got at 68,000, including the support of the chairman and the province, the team. Because we left the province as the structure, we didn't want to disturb it, so it continued as a support function. So through that, I started getting interest, because now I got so much involved. Every time the president was on the copper belt Northwestern, I was with him. I remember at the time we went to campaign for Dawson Kafuya in Solwezi. He didn't have any money. That guy was so broke. He was owing someone a check of 15,000. So I had to use my money to pay for him to clear that check.
I want to take this slowly. So Dawson Kafuya was so broke that he couldn't pay 15,000. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, he was owing someone at the bank a check of that bounce a check. So it was far from the bank because he didn't have 15,000 to pay someone was owing. So we had to pay for him so that he could get rid of that criminal record. The 5,000 for him to file in was given by Honorable Narumango. I remember that time. So we did everything to make sure that Northwestern Province started growing numbers with the MPs. But unfortunately, ditched the UPND, which he left most of us hate. We didn't give up. We continued with supporting Honorable Teddy Kasonso, who was the worst candidate I've ever met in my life. He couldn't even greet you. You are there to support his campaigns, but literally just say good morning.
Jero, you expect that this is what will be on TV Bakwetu tonight?
I'm telling you now, TV Bakwetu today it will be something else. I can try the honorable say that this honorable was the worst candidate.
and so that Kasonso, we've got his nephew. He will come here, Professor Kasonso in the US. So, but I'm not surprised. You saying that that Kasonso guy was the worst candidate you ever found. I'm not surprised, because from the little thing I got from him about Bill 10, I knew that this is one of the worst candidates, one of the worst MPs that you could ever come up with. Okay, so please go ahead, Honorable.
No, I'm sharing these stories for those who want to be in public office, to learn things on how attitudes can affect even a political career. For me, it was a learning point. I started learning the mistakes my friends were making on the political growth. So Honorable Kasonso was so cold. He never appreciated the efforts we put in. When he won the election, I could tell this man wasn't in UPND. He was using UPND to gain something. And we saw what happened during the Bill 10. He was one of the 3 sellouts. So we put in so much to build UPN on the Copper Belt and Northwestern. But the president challenged me to say, you seem to be so much interested in politics. Why can't you go and organize Cancoyo? Then I was like, the last 15 years, UPN has only gotten 750 votes maximum in that constituency. PF has been getting 15,000. Where am I going to start from? The numbers don't just motivate me, but challenged me to say, can you go and prove your worth in that constituency? So when 2016 came, I was adopted, we started mobilizing. I think the people got our message because I'm from there, I've been with them, and they saw the commitment I was putting up just to ensure that the party started growing. So when it was election time, we are good to go, we are good to win that election, until Kambwiri came and, damaged our fortunes to win that election. So my political career...
What did Kambwiri do exactly in 2016? What exactly did Kambwiri do?
No, he spoke so much negative about HH being a Tonga, how Tongas cannot be trusted, how they're selfish, how they're going to off, and me being to affect possibilities also, because HH is Tonga, then I'm also a Tonga candidate. So that's run down on my shoulders also.
Now, Honorable Mabeta, you see, one of the things that we've done here on TV Bakwetu, it's to deliberately deal with this issue. We don't shy away from defending our Tonga citizens. Now, I know some people say, don't, just say one Zambia, one nation, but nonsense. I'm not going to say one Zambia, one nation, as long as we are using this slogan, okunyantirira our Tonga citizens. And so I just want you to know that I'm sorry for what Shimba Kambwiri said in 2016 or in 2021. You, our Tonga citizens, are as citizen as everyone else. Now, I do see that this indeed affected you because here you are celebrating a victory in Cancoyo, and yet that thing still affects how you look at your victory, how you look at your politics. That must not have been easy.
Yeah, I think it's a lesson to say in future we should never take advantage of people. The unity in diversity.
Yeah,
We need future politicians to come to learn to say there's a point at which evil cannot prevail anymore, because what Kambwiri was doing was evil. I've explained to say that hate speech started a long time. It was a growing trend which we tolerated as Zambians, and it was part of politics. But the time came when Zambians said, no, this is not what we deserve. Through the 2021 election, Zambians just said, no, this is not what we deserve. So for future politics who wants to continue using evil to promote their political careers, they'll be shocked for them to pay.
Yeah, I think we're having network problems. Jerome, are you there?
Yes, Bamusha, very much.
You look like you are dozing. Kuli warning from the president you need to resign.
And so they make a jump to Babasa Kupunda. Oh, you Tom for so could I make a quash pula the fee?
Mandin. Honorable Mabeta. Anti-Tonga tribalism hurts me. I don't like it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think what Zambians did in 2021, we have won that battle because we came in those numbers to vote against tribalism. The way Zambians voted, I think for me personally, I consider them to be our masters, to be history makers. They have made history which wasn't possible to make in such an environment. So we owe them everything. That's why even when you see the president talking, I look at him, I look at his emotions. He's got so much regard for the Zambians, the way they voted. He been saved from the ridicule he went through in the last 15, 20 years from the hate speech of the PF. So for us, we are so grateful to the Zambian people, especially the people of Cancoyo. They have proved what no one was able to prove in the past. They have made history. They have voted against tribalism, yeah. So they've made such a huge history. That's why today I can't sleep. I don't just go to bed to rest without thinking on how we are going to reward the people for taking such a huge risk.
Right. Okay. Now, how was it fighting Edward Chomba? I saw his campaign, I saw his money, and I saw his connection with now Mufulira is like Milambo, is like is Nikwa Milambo. Mufulira is like Luapula extension. And I saw him connecting with the people on that basis, speaking with them Mucha, you know, and just going on and making that connection. How did you manage to beat him?
I think for me, all I can say is God's grace. It's the God's grace, nothing much, nothing more, because nothing, as you can see, we didn't have anything to give the people of Cancoyo. We didn't have any resources. All we are receiving was the 5,000 kwacha every week, which we gave to councillors, we shared the councillors, and we didn't have much. It's God's grace. God who can perform miracles, the same God who made it possible for David to defeat Goliath, is the same God we still worship there. So he made it possible. It's a miracle. There's nothing we can attribute the victory we had in Cancoyo to anything scientifically, apart from spiritual.
All right. Now,
yeah, I think as you are asking about Edward Chomba, even me actually had a lot of I wanted to find out how he managed to beat him, because he composed even a Kanai song. So money, cholungwa chita. So money, cholungwa chita.
I remember that song, and that song now makes much more sense, because even if in Lungu lost by 1 million votes.
Okay, so money for Lungu achito kuba ponya ba Chomba.
That's tough. Anyway, Honorable Mabeta, who are you? We've heard a lot of what you said about politics and stuff like that. You look young. Is it because Namubeya, Nambomfena go black? How old are you?
Wow, a son of a policeman. My father was a policeman. My mother was a marketeer down in Utondo police camp, and spent much of my time at Utondo markets. In 1983, I'm a third born in 5 sisters. So I'll be 37 this year. I'm very active in sports, so maybe that may make me look younger than my original age. I'm a sportsman who I've been in sports all my life. I love sports, you know. So I always take sport as part of the way to keep my life busy, so that I don't have an idle mind. Because my Bible tells me an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So I don't want my mind to become a devil's workshop.
Muchiremba, ati idle mind emo satana bombera. Satana bomba. In the idle mind. Akasanga fe mind iri empty. Ero satana atambo ukubombera.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you are a child of a policeman, child of a marketeer. You grew up in Butondo. Anything else? And then you went to school to...
Yeah, I started my school in a community school outside the outskirts of Tondo. There's a community school, Zimba compound. It's a community school which is run by the community, not by the government. So I had very strong. I'm in grades in grade 1, grade 2. I lost it. I started spending much of my time with my mother in the market. So my father saw that my connection with my mother started affecting my grades. So he sent me to exile in a village. Deep in the village in Muzoka, there's a village across near the Kariba River. I mean the Kariba Dam. So that's why I spent my grade 2 to grade 7. I was strong. I got very good, exceptional results. The Catholic wanted to give me a scholarship to go to Mukasa, which was meant for would-be priests. But my mother being SDA, she thought that route wasn't going well with her faith. So they had to take me to Rusangu Secondary School, an SDA sponsored school. So even there, I think I did very well. Grade 9, I was supposed to go to Hillcrest, but unfortunately, my acceptance letter at Hillcrest disappeared. I don't know how it disappeared. So I couldn't go there. I continued at the same school.
Honorable Mabeta, I think in Mwarande
Yeah.
I've never, Jerome, have you ever such a guest on our show?
I'm telling you, I'm surprised no machine because the honorable Apana Valeta my issues
Okay.
IBA about the TV bakwetu.
So your letter to DK disappeared.
Yeah, the letter to Eucharist.
My acceptance letter is it's
okay. Why did you go? Why didn't you just go? You don't need a letter. If you accepted, you don't need a letter. So why didn't you just go?
No, I needed an acceptance letter to show that I was qualifying to go to be admitted in that school. But maybe it was a deliberate move by the school. They wanted to retain a cream. They didn't want to lose everybody. So they allowed others to go. Then some of us were retained to continue at the same school.
Okay.
Yeah, so continued at Rusangu, I finished my grade 12. Was one of the few qualified to go to CBU. I went to CBU, did my Bachelor of Science in Production and Operations Management, where I completed and had to get a job. But I couldn't find a job, Vamunsha.
Why did Steph Kwaka CBU? Vasa CBU Steph Kwaka.
No, production, no. With due respect, pharmacist, production management, no. No, production management. Production management. It's a very difficult science, isn't it, Honorable Mabeta?
Yeah, I think it anchors on 3 pillars. There's engineering, there's commerce, and then there's the accountants. So it's a course which teaches you how to manage,
All right.
At that level, a degree is as good as enough as the master's. Yeah. So it's a very good course. Then for me, I think I did the right course because it helped me the time I started my business. Yeah. So when I graduated from university, I couldn't get a job. So what did I have to do? I started working at a bar as a garden. Yeah, so I had my first job at a bar as a garden boy. My bar manager, the owner of the bar liked my attitude, my commitment, my hard work, promoted me to become a bar salesman. Then I became a bar manager. From the bar manager, I was so lucky I gave a service to a senior man in Barclays, Mr. Victor Simusokwe, who liked my attitude and poached me from...
Honorable Mabeta, I just want to get this. You were a gardener with a degree in production management?
Yes.
Okay, and then you became a barman?
Yes.
And then you became a bar manager.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mwalenwa?
No, I was looking for a job and looking for an opportunity.
Yeah. So as you are working in the bar, are you also drinking or you are just serving?
I was serving customers who are working in customers.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then you worked with Simsokwe, Mr. Simsokwe. I don't know him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the senior manager. Sorry, my WhatsApp is very active.
Honorable Mabeta, we're going to give you 2 minutes. Just mute. There are so many instructions that are coming of how you can actually mute your WhatsApp. So you can find a way to mute it, and then we can bring you back on because we like what you are saying, and so we don't want to miss it in any way. Can we do that?
Yeah, yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. So that's Honorable Heartson Mabeta. We are very lucky today to have an honorable member of Parliament for Cancoyo join us and tell us his story. It's an amazing story, and he's also quite hilarious in the sense that he is making us laugh, but also very serious face, very serious, but also making us laugh. No doubt that is going to be a valuable member of our parliament, and we really appreciate him. What comes to you, Jerome?
Yeah, I think Vamusha, I can't wait for such a brilliant, young and energetic man to debate in Parliament, and you can say that already in Parliament as UPND. We have credible people who can debate and who understand the things properly as compared to our opponent, whom I'm not mentioning some MPs names, no, but compared to the opposition, I'm not mentioning names here.
You had to go there. You just had to go there. Can you give these guys a break? They lost by 1 million votes. Can you give them a break?
No, I've not mentioned in a so you can see that we are going to have very credible debate in Parliament, and the people of Cancoyo, surely you can see that they chose a better and credible representative in Parliament, whom they are going to say a lot of things flow in Cancoyo. Is a very interesting person, and like you said, he's saying things which are making some of us laugh as if they are not something you can laugh at, and he's looking very serious. Well, he's saying that Honorable Council was the worst candidate.
And you see, this is legacy. It's history, right? When you are doing something, you are standing as an MP, but it's creating a story. It's creating history. It's creating legacy. And so when Bakasonso, comes up and does whatever he's doing, and backs Buten, it forms part of his life story. Very, very unfortunate, Mwandi. Our Chabi Babaka Sonso Mwandi for us to know, but he was the worst kind of person, MP, politician, and everything else. And I agree.
So Bamusha, so these MPs, they know themselves that you are always the worst. They can't just tell each other, but they know that this one, no. This one, even if this one was only just a fluke, they know is he or she is a riffraff. Is it so? Riffraff. Is it so?
Riffraff. I'm a riffraffs. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we'll have him back now. Mr. Kanika, I know that you are a UPND member, you are a UPND supporter, you are part of the leadership of the UPND, and you are also a UPND cadre. But you are also quite involved with things that are happening in the Ministry of Health. And you said something yesterday that caught my attention. You said that the Ministry of Health procured medication and then they have recalled that medication about a year later. And you're saying, how do you recall something that has already killed people? What do you say about that?
You see, one thing, the problem with the Minister of Health to start with is in terms of drugs, they think like drugs is a gold mine. It's where people makes money, but that's not the way it's supposed to be. So you find that we don't have qualified personnel who handles these issues concerning the drugs at the Ministry of Health. For example, something was brought in April last year. Then after they do some tests, they discovered that that thing was not okay. The drug was not fine. Then instead of that, they kept it all this quiet. Then in August, that's when we saw a letter being written to say, oh, these are the people who are coming to collect that medicine that was not okay last year in April. Who does that on earth? Like really serious, something that was bad in April 2020, then you recall that medication in August 2021. I don't know if they need to follow the people who got that medication or what, I don't know. This again shows.
Can I just ask you the same question? So you mean in the Ministry of Health, they don't have magnetism whereby they check every time when you receive a batch of medication, you do just a sample of tests before it's sent out? Do they just send them out, or how does it work?
Okay. So if I may say, Ministry of Health has got two streams for them to know where if the medicine is right or wrong. One, you can use through Zambia Medicine Regulatory Authority. They have the laboratories which you can use to test the drugs. Then there's also the Zambia Medical and the Medicine Supply Agency, which is MSL. They have also an in-house lab where they can test that these drugs are okay and these drugs can be okay. But with the previous government, there was serious political influence that was happening. As a result, people instead, once they do that, they were stopped to check these medications. Now, under some of us, we say we want to see people like the former head of state to his immunity to be removed so that at least he can be prosecuted, and we know why the people of Zambia were subjected to consume the medication that were counterfeit. Imagine with all this system, it's only in Zambia where you can find a fake drug in a public or government institution. There's nowhere anyone, even in Afghanistan, Afghanistan, you'll not find a fake drug in their government institutions. But it's only in Zambia where such things are do happen. How can you make of it something where was bad in April last year was given to the people, and not only people, the children was given to the babies. The babies consumed those medicines. Then someone comes and recall those medicines in August the following year. Is there any seriousness?
No,
So
there is
these
no
are
seriousness. Honorable Mabeta, as you went on to correct the issue with your phone, something is still ringing in my head, that your acceptance to Hillcrest got lost. That is still something that that is going to affect me for a very long time, because I don't see why you can't still go to Hillcrest with a lost paper.
Well, I was told everybody going to that school had an offer, a letter of offer, which came through the school, which we had to correct from our respective schools. That's the information I was told. So I couldn't just take a risk of traveling, considering that I had very little resources to waste, so couldn't pursue that direction. For me, at that time, every coin was necessary to save. So I didn't have enough resources to start moving between my school and Livingstone back and forth. So didn't pursue that option.
Honorable, the next thing is how you are a production production management graduate, and then you start very low, and then you rise through the ranks and you become a manager. That's pretty remarkable. Mr. Jerome Kanika is interested in health, and so he was just narrating what is happening currently at the Ministry of Health. But before we go there, because we are very privileged to have you as an honorable member of parliament, we want to give you feedback. And one of the things that the UPND is saying is that they'll be very open to feedback. And so to have you on our show is just goes to show that you want to receive feedback from citizens. And you're going to get feedback from citizens today regarding health, regarding the Ministry of Health, regarding all these expired drugs and everything. But tell us a little bit more about your story. So you finish your university and you work with Mr. Simsokwe. What else happens?
Yeah, I think I started too quickly in the bank. I started getting promotion every year. Worked in the bank for 5 years, and I got 4 promotions. Every year I was getting a promotion. Went to the MD's office, went to the MD, but I started getting a little bit uncomfortable with the other colleagues who are employed, because at that time the bank employed graduates as cashiers. So I was a little bit uncomfortable to see my friends struggling as cashiers in the bank with degrees. So started the movement to promote the growth of careers for graduates in the bank. But I think with the change of MDs, the MDs who came next never liked my approach to pull up other friends who are struggling to get the promotions, who are still cashiers. So I think I got in a bit of a serious fight with management to a point where they looked at possibilities of having me exited from the bank. So an opportunity for them came when my father started losing his sight. So he preferred me to be the one taking around hospitals to save his sight. So I requested for more days from my leave days so that I could take care of my father. But my manager told me to choose between my father's health and my career. So unfortunately, I had to give up my banking career and start taking care of my father. That's how I found myself back in Mufira again from zero. I had nothing apart from the little money my sisters, relatives were sending to help save my father's sight. So that's how my career in the bank ended, unfortunately. So I had to start again from zero to start building another life without capital, without any business opportunity, and business experience. So found myself in Mufira in the early 2013 to start, while taking care of my father, to look for means of doing business. So the same place where I started my grade 1, there's an opportunity, there's the silica mine activity which goes on there. So I started breaking stones to earn a living.
And you started breaking stones, as in Kutoba Amabwe?
Kutoba Amabwe is to reduce the silica from a big size to a size below 15 centimeters for the mine to be able to use it in the process of processing of copper.
When was that?
2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what happened after 2014?
I think the business started booming fast. So I realized to say this business, I'm going to make a fortune. So I didn't want to become rich alone. I organized all the businessmen in Mufira and said, let's make an association for Mufira contractors and suppliers so that we can share the opportunities which are going to come from this business. We made that association. We got more businesses on our table. We shared the businesses. I was so lucky. The bank trusted me. I never got, I had no property to get a collateral to get a loan like it is for many SMEs. So through my negotiation skills, having worked in the bank, I think I had an upper hand in negotiating skills because we are trained, bankers trained us every in a lot of corporate marketing and other products. So I got a loan of 12 million kwacha. That was in 2013. That was a lot of money, which we used to share and fund other small scale upcoming businesses to just give them a starting capital. But when they saw me getting involved so much with the president, one was away Northwestern doing campaigns, they and other government machineries visited the office and grabbed everything, accusing me of receiving money from the president, President Takande Hichilema, saying Odon was funding our business. So my friends sold me out, more especially those who had money still owing, because they got money, invested in their businesses. They didn't want to pay back, so what they did is to close their business so that they ran away with that money. So that put me in a very awkward position because I remained with 4 million debt to pay. So it hit me so much that up to now it's very difficult for me to trust any businessman that we can work together because the experience they put me through was so painful. But with time, we started recovering and cleared off that debt to ensure that we become stable.
And so there are several, and we don't have time to deal with all those aspects because all this is part of your story.
Yeah.
And so you are going to Parliament and Zambian leadership, your experience, how, first of all, how as an entrepreneur, you come up with that association, but there is this government that looks at you and thinks that you are being funded by Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, because there is this myth out there that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is so rich that he was funding different political operatives, and they confiscate your equipment because apparently DEC has these so much powers that it can just come to your workplace and confiscate things.
Yeah, I think it was that from that point that I realized to say we're at war with a bad government, which was meant to, it's either it's gone or you're gone. So
Yeah.
Even when you lost the 2016, I think that was the motive to say 2021 is it was the final show, because if we allow them to be in government, they are coming back to destroy everything. I had to start hiding my business. Today, you can't tell what type of business I do because I had to start doing business under the carpet. It was so difficult even to get a proper growth because you have to use someone's company, you have to get the commissions for you, the business to run. So it was the rough path. But when they saw that I was still progressing, they started arresting me now. I was arrested 5 times. Went to jail, There's a night they picked me in the middle of the night. They come and picked me, threw me in the jail. My wife was all over looking for me. The kids were so traumatized. They found me in the jail in the morning. They couldn't give me bail. So I went through a process where I was so much tormented by the PF government. It's a painful experience, but we moved on. It's part of politics in Africa anyway. So I went a path where PF brutality was at its highest.
That must have been sad. Now this is about 2:30. This is the time that Honorable, as it's late there. You're already done with much of the business work in Zambia, but I am in the office here. But we like having TV Bakwe to run, and so several friends of ours have come on board, and they do take over at some point to ask questions and to keep our all running, so to speak. So when you see me disappear, it's not because it's just that we just have to attend to some other things and ask Mr. Jerome Kanika and several other co-presenters to take over, and so they will be coming in and out.
No, many thanks. I think it's an honor for me to be featured on this platform. I think it's an interactive platform. Yeah, I've been following it and learned a lot from what you put up here.
Number Honorable Tamwatu Webe that you follow, Nishta Mwale to Fisa.
I have to comment. You can check on your comments.
And honorable, here, if we speak any language, so any language that you want,
Oh, yes.
Ushire is the one who has a problem. So if, for example, you begin speaking Lenje, and then somebody does not understand Lenje, if the position we take is, you are the problem. It's not the person who is speaking. That's the
No,
position
not
we take.
not at this point, because I'm sure the other people who are listening, so I'd rather be fair to them also.
Of course, and that's okay. No, now, is
Yeah.
it fair to only speak Bemba? So, ngandera de chibemba necha ushinishi na fair de. We want everything so that people can. We want to be learning very quickly. Anyway, Mr. Kanika, over to you. Mwaleko kushipula nomba.
Thank ala awe nachimye batawe kari ngulera ndane mfumu kutekanya first. Yeah.
All right, I'll
Honorable.
join you. Thank you.
Yeah, Honorable. Want to find out, since now we have you in Parliament. Yeah, what are the people who Cancoyo expecting you in Parliament to do for them?
Yeah, I think Cancoyo is one of the constituencies where the poverty levels are very high. I want to be honest with you. Unemployment rate is as high as 98%. People survive on a 5-10 kwacha a day. Families, not individuals. So there's high unemployment rate, which has increased, which has resulted to high criminal rate. Even now, there's a house which is losing a power supply line. Every night, there's a house which is being ambushed by the youth to cut off the power supply line and go and sell that cable for survival. So there's extremely poverty in Cancoyo. Water is another challenge. Few houses have a drop of water in the houses, you know. They have to walk long distance, they have to get water from shallow wells, which are not even well managed. So there's the crisis of lack of simple basic needs. So we have a huge and mammoth task to deliver in Cancoyo, but I think we're equal to the task. We know what needs to be done, so we'll do the right thing so that the right results are given to the people of Cancoyo.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable. Let me bring in Mr. Kwirimba to ask 1 or 2 questions to you, Honorable. Mr. Kwirimba, please.
Good evening, everybody. It's really a comment that I would want to make. It's, Honorable, you have an amazing story.
Thank you.
You have gone through so many hardships, and yet you are still standing. That kind of resilience is amazing. And I think that the people of Cancoyo like to have you as their member of parliament.
Thank you.
So really, I mean, just to push the question further on what you think needs to be done for the people of Cancoyo. You have said poverty is about 80 to 90%. What do you see as the low-hanging fruit in terms of working with the people of Cancoyo to help them come out of poverty?
Yeah, I think basically we need to change the mindset. I think I like the position the president's taken from being independent on the mines to taking up business opportunities. Cancoyo is next to one of the biggest markets in Africa, being the the Congo market at Kasumbalesa. So we reasoned the people of Cancoyo and promised them that we in the UPND, in order to promote trade, we are going to build the road which is connecting Cancoyo to Kasumbalesa directly. Why? The distance between Cancoyo and Kasumbalesa is only 60 kilometers. If we do a road, we're going to reduce traffic. I mean, the time it takes to move from Cancoyo to go through Chingola, Chirabombwe, from 3 hours to less than an hour. You're going to reduce on the cost. So basically, we think in the long term, that's a long-term project, basically, is to make Mufulira a transit town which has to go through Cancoyo. But in the short term, I think we've been engaging with the mines. there's a dump site which the mine doesn't use, but been protected for some time. I'm sure there's some politicians who had some selfish needs. So we want, I was just doing a communication to the CEO from Pani. So we're going to get an appointment with him so that we can find a win-win situation where the youth can be given an opportunity to have access to this mine dump site, which has a high grade of minerals. That is just part of like a short-term plan to keep them active and keep them away from criminality activities. Then when it comes to water, I will engage the managing director for a water utility company to find and come up with solutions to the water challenges. I mean, the challenges they're having to service the community, giving them just water, basic water supply shouldn't be such a big thing. So the company has already secured the loans from the World Bank, and the government and there's another institution. They managed to get 156 million euros, but they still have a shortfall of 120 million euros, of which I've invited the managing director from Longa to come and join me here so that we can engage the donors and explain and see if they can give us more money. The donors being including the government. So it's likely to come in, I don't know if it's today, tomorrow, the other day, I haven't communicated, so that we can go into these institutions and just look for more money to end that basic water supply. Then also the people of Kankoyo have shifted their mindset. I think they're so much involved in agriculture. So we intend to secure maybe 1 or 2 tractors to make it easy for them to till the land, because the people are already in farming, but all they need is the support of equipment. That is also important to them, because when we increase agriculture production, then I've got a huge market just across the constituency, then the market already. So we want to shift them from a mindset of looking for a job in the mine. When the mine is not doing well, then the community is hit heavily, to start looking at other self-reliant and sustaining programs. We've also engaged them to start developing their interest in fish farming, which is one of the fastest growing business here in Zambia. I've got a farm where I've got 22 ponds. So we're looking for corporate partners who can help us run that project, because I want to donate it to the community where they can give them a package that my workers are well trained. They can train them how to keep the fish. When they sell that fish, it becomes part of capital, so that we can shift them back to Cancoyo, do ponds, put up pond liners. They start surviving on breeding fish and sell it to Congo where the price is good. So there's quite a number of things we put in place. On the road, I think today I went to a government agency which looks at on building roads in Zambia. So asked the secretary to organize a meeting with me with the chief executive for that agency, so that we can just have an understanding and see how we can help the people of Mufulira to build the roads which haven't been built in a long time. Mufulira sees as an opportunity where it connects Zambia to Luapula, Northern Province, and Congo. So once we make Mufulira a transit town, it's going to benefit from a lot of increase in trade volumes, traffic, and the need for a shorter distance. Mufulira sits at the point where once the distance is shortened, you're going to have increased traffic. So you're looking at Mufulira in such a way that we need to move away from the mine. Definitely the mine becomes the immediate solution to the problems of unemployment. If we get an investor who is able to invest and expand the operations, definitely we are going to see an increase in levels of available jobs in that city. However, mining is the finishing asset. We've been relying on the mines for the past 60 years. So we're in the dying period of the mines. Maybe the next 10, 20 years, the mine will be gone. So we need to start thinking of our generation. What are they going to find we have put in place? So that's what we're looking at the moment.
Thank you, Honorable. Gladys, I think I'll throw the ball to you. Yeah, the Honorable is here. Please ask your question. Is Honorable Heartson Mabeta from Kankoyo in Mufulira. Please go ahead, Gladys.
Thank you, Jerome. Good evening, viewers, and good evening, Honorable Mabeta.
Good evening, Gladys. I'm glad to have you around.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations for the success, and I would simply say that what doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. So it has made you
Sure.
strong for sure.
May very much. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to actually approach the education system, which our president has promised that he's going to bring up a education system, a free education, should I say. And as I've been following that we had, for example, Kampyongo, who has been crying that where is the free education? Because we have been promised free education, which I feel that he should be the last person actually to cry out loud for free education when he's just been in the government, and he should be actually feel ashamed. And I would say also that it's some kind of manipulation to the people who have been voting. So what is your approach in educating the people of Cancoyo and just the youth at large concerning the free education? Because when we look at it, of course, for one, I believe in the current regime that things is going to work, and it's going to just take a long time, and the system has to be put in place. And looking also at the high level of poverty, as you say, that we are on, if I'm not mistaken, about 80% of poverty. There's a lot of things which has to be prioritized. So what is your comment, and how do you tackle this issue, and how do you approach your community concerning the free education so that they are not misled?
Yeah, I think basically Zambians didn't vote for the UPND because of the free education. We need to get our facts right. We started promising the Zambian free education 15 years ago. They never voted for UPND. So they voted for the UPND because they are looking for a fresh hope. What fresh hope were they looking for? Free from policy brutality, cadarism, lawlessness, high corruption levels where members of parliament or politicians become celebrities instead of being servants to the people. Politicians become celebrities. When a politician is that you attain the status where everybody thought you are the most happening person in life. So Zambians didn't like that. So they voted the PF out, not because they wanted free education. They wanted to get rid of the evil PF was putting on the Zambian people. However, the need for vulnerable children, people who can't afford to have access to education, I think that's something the president even emphasized. I was there in parliament when he mandated himself speaking English. The president put it clearly to say his children doesn't need the support of the government for them to go to school. Just like equally, my children don't need the support of the government. The support of the government to go to school. So we are not really looking for free education. The people of Kankoyo are not looking for free education. They're looking for a government system which is functioning and beneficial to all. They are looking for business opportunities where they can be able to have access to the market, access to businesses, which can support their ability as parents to provide for their children. Who would want to have a parent who cannot take care of their education needs? So parents also want to be proud of sending children to better schools. All they want is a source of income, not the government taking over their responsibilities. So they understand those points. I took a walk today in Lusaka. I went around, just wanted to find out the sentiments from the people. Interviewed quite a number of people, and no one told me about the free education. So Kampyongo is in denial, Kampyongo and this group, they're all in denial. They never ever thought UPND would form government. We haven't even started doing the budget which UPND can use to implement its policies. They're still using the PF budget. Everything is still under the PF control. So it's too early to start holding UPND responsible when they don't have a budget to fund their manifesto. So those guys should just accept their defeat. I think it's a bitter pill to swallow. Some of us went through a defeat in an election in 2016, but we humbled ourselves and swallowed. We started looking at the next election. Zambians have forgotten about PF. And I can assure you, PF will never come back to the corridors of power of they'll never rule this country ever again. They are gone. They are licking their wound. Let them lick their wound quietly so that they can heal it quickly.
Okay, thank you. This year, this parliament, it will be hot, I can tell you. There will be hot here in parliament. Bachama, it's your time, Bachama. Ask something to the Honorable, please. The Honorable is here.
How are you, Mr. Honorable?
I'm all right, thank you, Chair. How are you?
I'm all right. Anyway, I've got one thing I want to just say before I say what I need to say.
Yeah.
I was actually born in Mfurira Mkamchanga Hospital.
Okay.
So I'm very happy to have an MP from that party, even though, to be honest with you, I only stayed there when I was a baby. I can't remember anything. So anyway, back to the topic.
Thank you.
Okay. There's one thing I disagree with you, Mr. Honorable, in terms of education. In terms of education. Put aside politics of Kampyongo and them lot. I'm talking as me. I'll talk in terms of education. You know, when you say that they didn't vote for you to come because of education, you have to remember you had youths who voted. Youths want to go to school for education. Bear that in mind. So next time when you're asked a question like that, find a better way to answer it. Never ever say we were not voted in because free education. No, that was the wrong answer, sir. That's just the beginning. The second bit, I'm still on education. Education, you have to bear in mind, as you say, your constituency is a kind of poor constituency, as you put it. So basically, to be honest with you, I've heard of you saying that you want to build a road so that you can have more volume in terms of traffic and business, basically. So in order to have all those things, you have to remember that the education will need to come in. You need to have at least trade schools. You need to retrain people. As you were saying that everybody wants to have a job in the mines. For example, myself, I did chemical engineering, but due to my health, I couldn't work any longer in that field. I had to retrain so that I go in another field. I ended up doing health and safety. You understand where I'm going? So what I'm trying to tell you, education is top. You need to educate those people to retrain them. So basically retraining anybody is education. Yes, to be honest with you, I do understand when it comes to free education. Don't get me wrong there. Personally, I don't think it's manageable with our economy. Personally, we've got different views. But when I follow the speech for the president, to me, it sounded it would be a means test for you to get that whatever free you are getting. So for example, like your constituency, I would presume that you will get more people to be in
Bachama,
that
question
position.
first, question, Bachama. Question, please. Question first, Bachama. Question.
All right. No, my question is, I would like you to at least look at education, because that's your route. And basically, it's just education. I'll stop it there, because I had a lot of things to say, to be honest with you, on education. Because I feel your party is not being straight. The president himself, during campaign, he said free education. In the speech, it sounded like it's means tested. I agree with means tested, don't get me wrong. That's a good way, because I know free education is not possible. So what's your stance as an honorable on those on education?
Yeah, unfortunately, I assumed education as primary, secondary. I didn't look at the tertiary and the other part. Okay. I personally, as we have said, I'm a beneficiary of a working government system. I went to university on a government bursary. Manawasa was so passionate about building capacity and giving the less vulnerable an opportunity to prove who they are. So obviously, I think the same shoes which the president went through. So the government, as a government, has so much concern to ensure that a child in Cancoyo, with the ability to go to school, but doesn't have the resources to be supported, the government is going to support. But a parent with the capacity to pay for his child, I don't think would rather remove a child from a school, remove a child from a school is able to pay, and just come and put him in a school where there's just because everything is free. So what we are saying is, as much as we need to cater for, I think if you had the speech from the president today, he said you can only give people what you have. So the most important thing is to create resources, create capacity for people to be able to raise enough resources to take care of the needs of the families. Those who need to be supported will be supported. We've been supported by the government system. This is not something which we should really debate. So when they talk about free education, in what context? It's just free, even private schools, they just have to give free education. But if it's come to the government, support system has to go, it will be put in place so that we gradually move people from the lowest point and be able to compete in life. Education, the best equalizer. I was able to compete with the full cabinet minister and the permanent secretary because I went to school. If I didn't go to school, I wouldn't have been on the same platform with them. So we attach so much value to education. Skills development. You know, the SME is not going to function without having a skilled labor force. So skills development is also critical. They need to have skills, basic skills, carpentry, plumber, boiler maker, and you know, just basic skills. So those will be done. So the package of free education, just a political rhetoric want to use to vent their frustration. But unfortunately, whether they are frustrated or they are happy, the Zambian people have moved over from PF. They'll never go back to PF ever again. That's how life is.
Jerome, just quickly, can I
Wait,
rephrase?
let me give Mr. Patrick a chance also.
Okay,
Just let me give Patrick also a chance because I'm checking at the time.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Mr. Patrick, we are with the Honorable Mabeta here. Please, any question, message to him, please, it's your turn.
How are you, Comrade or Honorable Mabeta? Congratulations.
Many thanks, and we really value the support the diaspora put in. You worked a lot in the background.
How did you know? How did you know?
I'm on one of the forums where there's global. So I saw how much work you put in, especially in Luapula, Northern and Eastern Province.
It's a small world, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to. You guys, us, we were in the background and we were far away.
Yeah.
But you guys, you are in the battlefront and you must have gone through a lot. Imagine I was here and I was getting attacks from the PF. I was warned. One day I received a call around 23 hours. Somebody warning me that he who throws, he who lives in a grass house shouldn't throw stones. Yeah, somebody from PF. Yeah. And I didn't know who this person was, but warning me. And then the sad thing was one of my friends, we grew up together, we went to church together, also called me to warn me that I shouldn't be posting whatever I'm posting or whatever I'm saying about PF. I couldn't go to Zambia the last 3 years because I was threatened of being arrested if I go to Zambia. But now imagine you guys were in Zambia. So it must have been hard. But anyway, let's move on. It's behind us. Actually, some of my questions you've answered them. Yeah. So you've mentioned about because my main emphasis or main issue I want to raise to you is that I think we need to. UPND won these elections at the backdrop of promises we made to the people, especially the youth, the unemployed youth. And I think we need to fulfill those promises somehow. And the key will be job creation. And you've mentioned about business in Kasumbalesa. That will require some support, say maybe through SME, so it will require some money from government or from somewhere to help people to do business. I will tell you something, my honorable. I live in the UK. When I came to the UK, I thought, because in Africa, you have to work for big companies, and we think the big parastatals are the ones that create jobs, and we worked for those big parastatals. And I worked for them. I worked for Castro, I worked for BP in South Africa, Johannesburg, Cape Town, and then I came to the UK. So when I came here, I thought the biggest employers are those big corporations, and I was wrong. When I checked the company registry, I discovered that over 60% of people in the UK are employed by SME, small, medium enterprises.
Yeah.
That's where they employ from between 10 to 250 people. But you know what the government has done? The government knows most of the people are gonna be employed by those organizations. They've passed deliberate policies in parliament to support those businesses. Like during COVID, I sit on the board of a small organization. It was classified as SME. We were going to collapse because of COVID. The government gave us a grant of £250,000 during COVID, of which 50,000 were not going to pay. So these are some of the things the UPND government needs to do. You need to invest a lot in small and medium businesses. And the government, because the job of the government is not to create jobs directly. The job of the government is to create an enabling environment for job creation. So which means banks needs to, loan people, but through, what happens here, if you're a small business during COVID, you can go and get a loan from the bank because the government has guaranteed that loan. Just because of COVID, they wanted businesses to survive. So I think that's some of the things we need to put in place in Zambia. People cannot do business without financial support. And the best organization to support the people is the government, either directly or indirectly. So that was my point. Then you mentioned about the dump site. That's a good idea, but don't you think you need to bring an investor who can bring in machinery and other things, and also safety? Because I passed through the dump in Kitwe. I grew up in Kitwe. The famous
Black Mountain.
I grew up in Kitwe. I used to pass through there, when I used to go and watch football at Nkana Stadium. Some of the things I saw when I went to Kitwe a few years ago, some of the people were almost killed because the rocks were falling and one boy was almost killed. So can't you bring an investor who is very good in mining? He gets 50%, and then the other 50% is shared by the community, so that there is safety there is proper investment, so that, and then agriculture. That's a very good idea, fish farming. Why can't you form a cooperative for that community? And once you form a cooperative, you can even get a loan from the bank, because a cooperative is going to run by people who are experienced. And then through that cooperative, the people of Cancoyo can have shares in there, can have interest in there, can work in there, and then they can get dividends from there. And I think that's the best way of doing that. And I'll hear for your comment. Then skills. I always tell people in Zambia, especially my relatives and my friends, with the new government, with the MMD government now, with the UPND government in power, you need to have skills. Because they're not going to give you a contract in the mines if you don't have skills, because you won't deliver. So a lot of people in Kancoyo, it seems to me, they need skills. So the government, through the SME, here in the UK, they do it. You know, a lot of people, when they come to school, those who cannot go to university, here in the UK, anybody can go to the university. But if they don't want, they go through apprenticeship programs. That's one of the things you need to look at, especially when the mines develop. You can introduce apprenticeship with the mines and helping young people to be trained. But again, people need skills like plumbing, you know, carpentry, bricklaying, mechanics. You know, we need to reintroduce the trade schools. You know, if you can put one trade school in Mufulira, just to train people 6 months, 3 months, 4 months, people need those skills. And some of them, they even need to read, how to write, how to do budgets. You know, I think that's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. If I were the Minister of Small and Medium Enterprise and I was asked to say, what would be your first priority? I think that's two things. That's what needs to be done for now. Pay the supplier of goods and services on time. What we've seen in the past, a small cartel was doing business with the government, getting all the big businesses, things are not delivered. It was just a total mess. All we need is a system whereby every person can have an opportunity to compete favorably. They win a tender. There is the quality control. They supply the right goods and services at the right price. They're paid. Once that system starts working, money starts moving into the lower organs in the economy. Number two, stop killing businesses because of political interference or you're scared. We bought businesses in Mufulira. The business was working. We created jobs. We created the middle class. But my business, I mean, the model we had was destroyed because of being a political threat. No, that model, if it was allowed to grow, this time maybe Mufulira could have become an example of a united, a united SME. It could have been an example which the government could have even adopted today. But because of politics, they destroyed what could have worked to create business opportunities for the people of Mufulira. So stop using politics to kill business and let business flow. Once the system starts working, to be easy for anybody, and the banks to introduce what we call invoice discount. Even if I don't have money, I get an order. The bank will give me part of the money. I deliver what I need. When that money comes, they'll get their share and they give me a share. So I don't even need the government to start giving me free money to start running my business. The risk we need to avoid as UPND is to take over the responsibilities of financial lending institutions. We are going to kill them. Because the banks which need to survive on lending money to SMEs. So if the government takes over that responsibility, those banks will go under. And they are going to, by creating jobs, end up destroying jobs which are already existing. So we need to strike a balance to understand what needs to be done so that we don't solve a problem by creating another problem. That's my comments on the whole SME the whole SME setup. Well, definitely, maybe in other stages, we need to adopt the tiger economy model, see how we can use them to suit our requirements in the country. We go to Thailand, Taiwan, and just learn how they manage to use the SME to grow the economies. But we just need to do the basics at the moment. The government is owing so many contractors unpaid. The government is also owing the mines in unpaid taxes. It's VAT refund. The mine is going down because the government was taking away the money supposed to refund the mines. Right? Give them what is due to the mine. What belongs to Caesar, give it to Caesar. And Caesar is going to use it to keep your people. The mines are struggling because the government became greedy. The politicians ate away the money is supposed to be given back to the mine so that the mines could continue sustaining their operations. So if the government is going to be away from interfering in the income base of the mines is going to increase its expense on corporate and social responsibilities, need to increase production, and increasing production brings an increase in the need for factors of production, and labor is part of it. So this is not a very complicated situation which needs even to crack our head. Let's just do the right thing. Just like we kicked out the cadres from the street, we can reorganize the supply chain to ensure that it starts working for the people. The banks are willing to lend to credible business, to credible SMEs. But what they need is a system where they'll be confident to say, if they give Heartson Mabeta today 20,000 kwacha, it's going to pay back, and they're going to get back the investment. So that's why not really complicated. All we need is to do the right thing, simple, basic, right things, and the headache will be gone. But if you want to start now taking over the responsibility, responding to pressure, we end up creating a problem by trying to solve another problem. That's my comment on the SMEs.
Gladys, you wanted to say something. Please go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify because I felt like my question was really not satisfactory. I was not satisfied with the answer. It's also because, Honorable, people are different, and
Yes.
we get messages in different ways concerning the education. I mean, there's been a lot of things which has been promised, of course, and now you are in the government, and I think it's your responsibility, my responsibility, to teach and educate people about how the system works, because a lot of people are expectant. They think that when there is change, the word change itself is too big for the majority. A few can understand change, that change is not something which happens just right now, right away. So that's why I was expecting that you probably will be able to tell me, even though you say Cancoyo people didn't vote for education. Yes, but the majority of the people, it could be not Cancoyo people, it could be from the people from outside. Those people, I think you should be able to explain to them, yes, education will come, but the system has to be put in place. And it takes a long time, because some people, they probably think that if the government has promised to bring change, they expect it like right away. Even if it's not right away, they expect it maybe within a period of 6 months, which is next to impossible, looking at the economical situation in Zambia. So I think it is your responsibility and my responsibility to educate the majority about the promises which we have made, so that they can understand on a layman's level.
Okay.
Okay.
Now I get you. I understand. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, but Gladys, I think it's not I'm trying to shoot the honorable, or it's because I'm also a UPND cadre. No. I think in terms of education, the honorable mentioned to say there is primary, there is secondary and tertiary education. And if I heard him very well, he mentioned to say for primary, secondary, yes, the advocacy will be there for free education, but for tertiary education, probably there will be an issue of, again, trying to see the issue of advocacy, and not only that, but trying to make sure that those that deserves gets it, the scholarship that they are supposed to be. Then you also mentioned about the issue of private schools, where we say free education. Are we talking about free education in private schools or in government schools and all that? So as much as that, he was trying to expand the issues of free education, which I think I got, but like the president mentioned, and like the president said on Friday, we are trying to look into the avenues of having this be fulfilled in whatever the form of education, starting with the government. Yes. Anyway, let me leave to the honorable to do that.
Now,
Yeah, I think.
Can I just add something on top of what you just said? Because the honorable, you said about private schools. Let's be realistic. Even the counter time, we had private schools, we had free education. Yeah, so that argument you made earlier on, that doesn't count. But I do agree with some of the points you made in terms of education.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, in terms of when you added the other bit in terms of retraining and things like that, because that's kind of important, because as you said, people change skills. How many skills did you change to be a honorable now? I heard you a garden boy. Okay, the difference is yours, you were not being, you don't have to go for training. You understand my point? That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, but when you look at what is on the table today, the PF almost gave the citizens of Zambia free education when from grade 1 to grade 7, the maximum a pupil pays is 50 kwacha in a term, 50 kwacha in 3 months. So that's already as good as free education. How free do they want it to be? You know, from grade 1 to grade 7, the maximum a pupil pays at a government school is 50 kwacha, which is maybe it's $4, $5. So it's not much. When it comes to secondary, we need the policies are going to be made. We are going to respond to the needs of the people without again rushing into something which is going to be a disaster. We have no resources. Our coffers are dry. We have 27 billion debt to be paid. So there are all these things which need to be encompassed. But the comments coming from PF, you'll be shocked today that I was with my, I call him Bishop, which one now? Bowman Musambo. We met one of the requirements where we had to declare some assets together. And he was telling me to say, doesn't believe UPNG can win PF. So 2026, PF is bouncing back. So that's in a shock. So when they speak, you understand them to say that's in a shock, and we will accept the memento. So don't take it serious when you see them acting like that. It's part of an acceptance stage where they will eventually accept and start reasoning properly.
Gladys, I hope you are satisfied or still?
Yes, it was just a clarification that still I had a question, but if there's somebody else who has to ask a question, they can ask. But otherwise, then I have a question if I'll be given the time I'll be given a chance.
But Jerome, can I just say something about education?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, when you look at the UK, it's free education from nursery to high school. And then when it comes to university, anybody can go to the university, but it's means tested. So what they do is the government is not involved. It's now quasi-government organizations that provides loans to the students. But how they provide those loans is they get the income of both the wife and the husband, and then they put them together and then they calculate how much that student will get, especially in terms of allowances and other things. So if your parents are earning more than the threshold, then your student will get less money because the parents can afford. And single parents, I know kids, my son goes to university. He's got friends who are from a single parent household. That guy gets more money than my son because he's got only one parent and the income is only for one person. And I think that's the way Zambia should go to. Essentially give them the loans, and they only pay those loans when they start working and they are earning so much. And it's so little that they have to pay back that loan for the rest of their career. They don't even feel it. I think that's the way Zambia should go. That's the route Zambia should go to, because no student, either in the UK, and every student should go to university, unless if they don't want. Thank you.
I'm still paying the loan. The one you're talking about, Patrick. I'm still paying that loan. Every month, it's direct from my account. The government gets the money straight from my account, from my payslip.
Yes,
I don't need to know.
But it's so minimal. It's so minimal.
It's so minimal. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
Gladys, back to you again. Oh, Mr. Nkuremba, want to say something?
No, I think really the point is, well, it's pretty hard to think that 100% of those that go to school from whatever level that they can have free education. I think for me the important thing is that if there is free education from primary and secondary school, when it comes to tertiary education, those that cannot afford, the government could help them. through a workable system. It could be loan, it could be free bursaries. Because the situation right now is that we have brilliant young men and women that complete secondary school, and they are not in tertiary institutions of learning because they can't just afford. And even those that are supposed to be given bursaries from the government, they don't receive that bursary. So for me, really, is if this government can make an effort to ensure that those that want to go to school and they qualify to go to university or college, nothing should hinder them from accessing that education. I think that is workable. Thank you.
Okay, I think
that point you made, the point you've just made, Bankwelimba, the president was categorically clear that they will support, because he asked a question: do you expect to pay for my child? Because he can afford. So those who cannot afford and they are brilliant, the government will pay for them. HH was very clear when he made the speech in Parliament.
Yeah, I think there needs to balance on when the budget comes. I think you have opportunities to debate. We are going to. I'm learning. Even if I'm not writing, I'm a good listener. I listen more, so I'm getting your inputs. I'm sure we need to balance on the need for the government to be able to pay its goods and the supply of goods and services on time, and over investment in education. Because at the end of the day, we might invest in education so much, and the economy doesn't grow. So if the economy doesn't grow, we are going to have a highly educated population with nowhere to take their skills, So we need to start balancing. You're looking at growing the economy so that it can also cater for those who have already graduated. They start getting new jobs. They start forming their own businesses while we are educating the population which is growing. So there's a lot of balance to be done. What do we need? Which ones are priority in the next 2 years, 3 years? Where do we put our resources more? So as the budget comes, obvious, you're going to have an interaction here. Then we'll be able to learn, because in UPND we believe in learning, and learning is a continuous process. So we're going to give you a platform where you can help us look at things maybe different from the way we see them. Then we can exchange notes, and we're going to debate according to what we think is right. We need to keep on learning. Remember, I also spoke about attaching some SME to tiger economies. Even when it comes to education sector, we need to look at how it can work. But the mistake we shouldn't make is to over-rely on donor fund to run government programs, because those donors are going to whip us one day. We might have a good will, attractive to donors, but at what cost is their goodwill coming to the country? So we shouldn't go on a route where we want to rely on donor funds to appease the voters. Those donors one day are going to whip us. So there's a lot of balancing to be done. But I strongly believe, let the system start functioning. There was no system in the previous government. It was whoever wakes up early, gets a contract, has got a connection, they become rich. There's no system which was working. So we need to build a system which is going to work, so that every citizen, they start feeling they are part of the economy, they are part of the government program, they are part of if there is social cash transfer, and they want to benefit those that stays and above. Let everyone know the criteria being used for someone to qualify. All we need is to form a system. And today the president emphasized much on procedures. Following of procedures, be responsible, no excuse. Don't give an excuse to say, I'm a minister, I don't understand what was happening in my ministry because this is the job of a permanent secretary. There's no room for excuse. We need to be responsible. Responsibility comes with accountability. So when you're responsible, you also have to account for your actions. I think you're in the right space. Believe in me, in the right space. We are different from what was happening in the past. Today, I received a lot of calls from the graduates, college graduates, base graduates, who are employed through the PF MPs. MPs recruited the graduates, attach them to different ministries, and they are being paid some money. Then we tend to wonder, when did an MP become an employer? The government has got the ministries and the human resource who manage employment. Why should the MP be the one to recruit graduates? What does that create? Loss to the party. So I had to explain to them. I know we are keeping on teaching them to say this is not the way things are done. We should do things differently. I gave them an example to say, if you give me an opportunity to choose who to be employed, I'm going to reward the people who supported me in my campaigns, and they're going to feel hate. This is what let POF lose, because other citizens started feeling marginalized. So you're not going to go that route of using member of parliament to be employers, because other people will be marginalized. So let's do things right. All we need is a system. Once the system is working, those are hardworking, right attitudes, and committed to work, they'll start feeling the benefit of a changed government. So shouldn't really crack our heads to put up. All we need is a system. There's no system in the PF government. It was Kafafwa. You know, I wish you could just come and be part of what we went through. You wouldn't believe that we've been survived. There was nothing here which was happening. It was total a collapsed government.
Okay, thank you. We have overshot the time. Councilor Musha, are you there? Thank you. We have overshot the time by 15 minutes.
Oh,
Sorry.
That's one point, John.
Okay, yes.
The Honorable talked about resources. You know, I think this is one thing we discussed yesterday as well. You know, Zambia is not a poor country. Zambia is a very, very rich country. If this government can mobilize the resources that we have, there will be enough resources to meet the needs of most citizens, including a higher percentage of the budget going to education. Education is the only equalizer. Yeah. And education is an important aspect of growing the economy. I don't think that you can expect an economy to grow when you have got an educated population. I think we really needed to begin to think outside the box. We have a lot of resources that we need to begin to manage for ourselves. We have allowed outsiders to come and get our resources, and we get literally nothing out of it. What percentage? What you know? Take for the example the mining companies that are in Zambia. How much do we get out of that? Is it not possible that we can increase the tax that remains in the country so that we can meet these other needs? There are many other resources. There is gold now, Kasensele, all that gold. Why should we give it to a foreign investor? We have miners, engineers who are trained at a high cost within Zambia who can manage operations of mining and processing the minerals that we have in country, so that the bulk of what is raised from that remains within the country. I think we need to think by changing or creating laws that ensure that investors, they don't take away, everything that they realize from their businesses. Perhaps they should just get their dividends, but the rest of the resources, they should use them within the country.
All right.
Thank you.
Now, I think we've overshot our time by about 18 minutes. As usual, we can push ourselves into the abandon the live and then go into the background discussion. Thank you very much, Honorable Heartson Mabeta, for having been with us. Thank you very much. And we can always call upon you again to come and speak with us. How about that?
No, I'm very much available. I've learned a lot. I think it's an opportunity for me to be able to exchange views and get some understanding. Obviously, we're getting people's expectation from a different angle. When we're in the opposition, we're looking at things differently. Now, in the ruling floor, we are looking at things differently. So you need to listen to people who are looking at things, or you used to look at them before in this situation. So we are going to continue learning. Yeah, so yeah, well, now take me na mapipingo kwa ipinfila pozalo kufumona. But believe you me, we are listening. We are not antagonistic. We are learning. I personally have taken a stance of engagement than being antagonistic. Because when you're antagonistic, you scare people. But when you engage them, they will help you to grow. You know, I'm still young. I still have a long way to go. I'm coming from a constituency, it's a very volatile constituency. From 1964 to date, no MP has retained that seat twice. So we need to make that history. There is an opportunity to make history, and that's what we're looking at, to be voted twice. So our work hasn't ended. It has just started. So I'm glad that I've been given an opportunity to learn from you and appreciate it. Many thanks to all of you.
Thank you. Please don't go away. Don't go away. We're just going to end our live, but we'll continue with our discussions. This has been a presentation of TV Okwetu. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the moderators that chipped in, Jerome and Gladys, much, much appreciated. And the rest of the team that came on with questions, with putting everything in order. We really, really appreciate each one of you. Good night.